The adjustable circle cutter from American Button Machines, of course, is designed for cutting circles and is adjustable. Primarily, of course, for cutting buttons, and there are indentations for the most common standard button sizes. But you can actually cut a circle of any size from a 1-inch button all the way up to a 4-inch diameter, both for buttons as well as a variety of different art projects. For example, I want to cut a circle for a 1 3/4 inch button, and that is not one of the preset sizes, so I'm going to create my own centering template. The circle cutter comes with 2 centering templates that are pre-cut for a 1-inch button size, but you can cut your own templates for any size beyond that up to a 4-inch diameter. So let's take a look at that adjustment process. I'll start off by removing the centering template that I have installed in the machine here. So I will just lift the tab a little bit as I start to rotate, and you'll see that the edge comes out. I can then remove the centering template, and I'm ready to adjust my cutting arm. I'll start off by loosening just a couple of turns the thumb wheel on the handle, and then I can turn the cutter over and push upward on the handle so that the cutting arm clears the base plate. On the top side of the cutting arm, which is flat, there are preset indentations for the most popular button sizes. In this case, I need a size that is different from one of those preset indentations, so I will rotate that cutting arm around so that the flat side with the indentations is now facing toward the bottom of the circle cutter, and I can use those as a reference. So for example, for my button size, I need to go in between the second and third indentations, right about there, I think. The idea is to get it as close to the size you actually need, and then we'll test to make sure it's accurate. I could always adjust further as needed to make sure I'm cutting a circle of the perfect size that I need. I'll go ahead and tighten up that thumb screw so that it locks that cutting arm into place, and then I will test the cut. For that test cut, I'll just use a plain sheet of paper, so I'll place that on my cutting plate, put the circle cutter on top, and then just apply pressure on the handle and rotate a little more than a full turn, and then I can evaluate my work to make sure that I adjusted the cutter to the perfect size for what I need. In this case, that is for a button, and so I could use the Mylar from that button to evaluate and determine whether my circle was cut to the perfect size. And it just so happens I've got that perfect on the first try. So now that I have the cutter adjusted to the appropriate size, I'm ready to cut my centering template. So I'll turn over that cutter once again and insert the centering template. So I'll get that lined up and then apply downward pressure onto the corners to make sure that's going underneath the base plate there, rotating until we've got the notch in the open spot there. So now I have that 1-inch button template set up inside of my circle cutter, but the circle cutter is adjusted to the specific size that I need. Now I'm ready to cut that centering template. This will require a certain amount of force, a fair bit of force, and you'll probably need to rotate around 10 to 20 times in order to cut all the way through that centering template until the area that you're cutting out has broken free. In this case, I've not been able to cut all the way through with around 10 or 20 rotations, so I think it'll be easier to simply flip the centering template over and cut through from the other side. So I'll go ahead and lift up on that tab as I rotate, flip the centering template over, and once again insert it into the base plate here. So now that I've flipped that centering template, I can once again put the circle cutter onto my cutting plate and again apply strong pressure as I rotate around, cutting through the centering template. I can then of course remove that cutout piece, and I now have a centering template that is perfectly sized for cutting out, in this case, that 1 3/4 inch button size. But again, you could create such a template for any size from a 1-inch button all the way up to a 4-inch diameter.